Captioning sponsored by Superior Toyota Hyundai and WVU Medicine Camden Clark. Live from our studios at One Television Plaza, this is WTAP News at 6.
A man pleads guilty in Wood County Circuit Court to second-degree murder after a drug deal gone bad. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Phyllis Smith. A man pleads guilty this afternoon to charges of second-degree murder and first-degree robbery. The case in Wood County Circuit Court involved the death of a 34-year-old man named Christopher Valkos in Parkersburg in February 2020. Authorities say this man, Michael Johns, and Valkos got into a fight during a drug deal. Johns said he choked Valkos twice and then took some money during the fight at Valkos' Greenbrier Gardens apartment. The two worked together and were both on parole at the time. Johns is scheduled to be sentenced at 2 p.m. May 28th. Turning to the weather, sunny but a little chilly. Meteorologist Kirk Greenfield joins us now with the first look at your forecast. Kirk?
That's a good way to describe it. Sunny but chilly. Well, it's not that bad right now. When we take a look at the view here on the Highmark West Virginia Skycam, we're up to 56. Yeah, that's a little cool, but that's more seasonable for today. Looking at the relative humidity, it's 28%. The winds are calm and the pressure at this point 30.20 and falling. When we take a look at the evening planner, we expect to be about 51 by 8 o'clock, mostly clear. Should be a spectacular sunset with a full moon rising. As we get towards midnight, we'll be about 42. Not quite to the bottom, but still basically a clear and bright night with that full moon very visible. So what's to come the rest of the week? I think you're going to be surprised. I'll be back in a moment to tell you. Back to you.
Thank you, Kirk. West Virginia residents in the Mid-Ohio Valley now have another way to sign up for COVID-19 shots. The Mid-Ohio Valley Health Department and several local health care providers teamed up with the local United Way Alliance to set up a website where people can pick a time and place to go get their vaccine. To register, go to uwamov.com/COVID. You can also call 304-420-1449. If the call goes to voicemail, officials say you should leave your name, date of birth, and a phone number for someone to call you back. Appointments are being taken for 5 clinics this week. The first one is from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow at the New Hope Baptist Church on Rosemar Road in Parkersburg. The MOV Health Department says this will be the only vaccine clinic for Pfizer. There are 2 clinics scheduled between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Wednesday. One is at the South Parkersburg Baptist Church. The other is at the Copeland Clinic on Court Street in Elizabeth. 2 more are set for Thursday. One is from 9 to 5 p.m. at the WVUP Early Childhood Learning Center, and one from 9 to 3 at the Pleasants County Library on Lafayette Street in St. Mary's. Today marks the beginning of a fiber optic system upgrade in Marietta. The city's current fiber optic system is old and failing, according to city engineer Joseph Tucker. This means some signals are not working properly and some are not connected to each other. That means some signals don't communicate with each other, causing less efficient traffic flow. The goal is to replace the fiber in all intersections with more modern technology. This new tech will be safer, more efficient, and will be easier to navigate for self-driving and connected cars. It will also be safer for pedestrians.
The leading pedestrian interval at a complex intersection like this one, it actually holds traffic up to give the pedestrian a head start, about a 3 to 4 second head start, so that person that may be turning sees the pedestrian is in the intersection.
The project is an ambitious one and will be completed in 3 phases. Phase 1 should be finished by the end of June, and the project in its entirety will be done in 2023. The West Virginia House of Delegates gives final approval of its own version of a plan to eliminate the state's personal income tax. The House passed the bill on a 77-23 vote today. It now heads to the Senate. The House version would reduce state income taxes by $150 million annually until they are eliminated. The bill does not address other tax increases to balance out the cuts. Under the bill, a special fund would be established to tap other state income sources, including lottery proceeds. Governor Jim Justice has introduced his version of eliminating the personal income tax that would increase the consumer sales tax rate from 6% to 7.9%.
You're going to throw away business opportunity. You're going to throw away absolutely our opportunity to grow in West Virginia and prosper. It is the single biggest and boldest and most important thing that you could ever deal with, other than life and death with all this other stuff.
Also at his briefing, the governor announced West Virginia will begin offering COVID-19 vaccinations to family members, caregivers, and staff members at nursing homes and assisted living centers. He also announced employees at the Toyota manufacturing plant were vaccinated last week. Speaking of Governor Jim Justice, he signs into law a measure lawmakers and educators have been debating for 2 years. It's called the Hope Scholarship Bill, and backers say it will increase educational opportunities for West Virginia students. More commonly, it allows families to set up education savings accounts that can be used to pay for tuition to private schools. Opponents say the losers would be public schools.
However much you're going to be able to put in those accounts, that's how much the tuition is going to go up. So you're not going to see a savings there for parents. All it's really going to do is pull more and more money out of the public schools that desperately need that money right now.
The West Virginia chapter of Americans for Prosperity, however, issued a statement saying the Hope Scholarship will expand education options for families by giving students the opportunity to seek opportunities that benefit them. West Virginia University at Parkersburg will not be increasing tuition for the 2021 to 2022 academic year. Today's announcement comes after the school's Board of Governors voted earlier this month to keep tuition rates the same as they are now. Alice Harris, the school's executive vice president of finance and administration, says because WVUP is a publicly funded school, there's a moral obligation to keep the cost of an education as affordable as possible while generating enough revenue to pay for programs. Officials also say tuition charges are capped, so anything over 12 credit hours per semester is offered at no extra cost. Marietta-based People's Bank has entered into an agreement to acquire 2 financial institutions, Premier Bank, Incord, and Citizens Deposit Bank and Trust. The company says it expects to complete the deals in the 3rd quarter of this year. Both are subject to regulatory and approval by shareholders. Once the deals are finalized, People's Bank will have 136 locations in Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. A history documentary will be taking place in Parkersburg involving one of the area's most famous families. Mitchell Blayhut has more on this story. Mitchell.
A documentary is being put together centering around Blennerhassett Island and the family's involvement with a notorious founding father. It will tell the story of Harmon and Margaret Blennerhassett and their connections to Vice President Aaron Burr and his treasonous activities. The film company putting the piece together says it is an important lesson about what constitutes treason and one of the earliest examples of it.
The Blennerhassett story is an interesting one, and I think it's particularly timely right now when, as a nation, we're asking questions about what is treason, and what is the legal definition of that. The Blennerhassetts were involved, of course, with Aaron Burr, the first American and an early founder, of course, who was charged with treason. So I think it's an interesting story.
The piece is being put together by Charleston-based Motion Masters. The hour-long film will be airing on West Virginia Public Broadcasting, with segments also to be made available at the Blennerhassett Museum in Parkersburg. The documentary is expected to finish all post-production in a couple of months. There's also a premiere planned at the Smoot Theater in Parkersburg. On a side note, projects like this can be costly, so the creators say they appreciate the support they have received from the Blennerhassett Museum, the Parkersburg Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the McDonough Foundation. Now, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Mitchell. Still ahead, Ohio's governor and the First Lady come to a vaccination clinic in McConnellsville, and we were there for his visit.
A balmy start to our work week. Can't high the mid-70s by Tuesday, but overnights the rest of the week will be below freezing. That's next.
Tonight's news poll is sponsored by Mother Earth Foods and by the Basement Doctor of West Virginia.